I ain't got no television show. Why? Because you scared of me. Scared I'm gonna say something.
Bernie Mac wasn't just funny, he was fearless. With that signature wit and unfiltered edge, he lit up Ocean's 11 and made The Bernie Mac Show a classic. But when he passed in 2008 at just 50, the official cause, pneumonia, left more questions than answers. Now, years later, the whispers haven't stopped. Some say Hollywood's dark side had a hand in it, that behind the laughs was a man cornered by unseen forces. What really happened to Bernie Mac? Let's peel back the curtain. The hidden struggles behind Bernie Mac's rise to fame. Bernie Mac was a force of nature. Known for his brash humor and no-holds-barred approach, he became one of the most beloved comedic icons of his generation. His unforgettable roles in Ocean's 11 and The Bernie Mac Show endeared him to audiences worldwide. But behind the laughs, there were struggles that shaped his journey, and some say these battles may have played a role in his untimely passing. In a candid conversation, Bernie's close friends and colleagues shared that the grueling schedule of Ocean's 11 might have taken its toll on him. According to sources, Bernie himself hinted at the exhausting demands of juggling multiple high-profile projects at once, which some speculated contributed to his health issues later on. Rumor has it that Hollywood pushed him to the edge, stretching him too thin. From the very start, Bernie Mac faced personal tragedies that would shape his worldview. As a young man, he suffered the devastating loss of both his mother and his father. His mother, who battled breast cancer, was a central figure in his life. During an interview with Howard Stern, Bernie revealed an emotional memory. After hitting a home run in a baseball game, he walked into his house to find his mother, half covered, with a large scar on her chest. She had undergone a mastectomy, and Bernie was left frozen in shock. The young comic had never seen her in this condition, and the moment left a lasting impact. Bernie's mother tried to shield him from the truth, asking him to close the door and not pry further. But it wasn't just the cancer that would haunt Bernie. It was the trauma of not fully understanding the depth of her illness until much later. His mother's passing left a gaping hole in Bernie's heart, one that would shape his career, his comedy, and his relationships moving forward. As Bernie Mac's career soared, so did the pressures of fame. He was no stranger to Hollywood's darker side, the constant push for compromise, the hidden demands that didn't always align with his values. Rumor has it that Bernie was often put in difficult situations where the industry tried to shape him into something he wasn't. One fan recalled a chilling incident behind the scenes of The Bernie Mac Show, where a promotional shoot allegedly involved a scene where Bernie was asked to have a teenage boy sit on his lap. Bernie, known for his no-nonsense attitude, quickly shut that down, refusing to comply with what he felt was an inappropriate request. While this story was shared by a fan on social media, it paints a larger picture of the subtle yet sinister pressures that many black entertainers face in Hollywood. Mac wasn't alone in this struggle. Other entertainers have also come forward with similar stories, shedding light on the industry's demand for compliance at any cost. And then there's Dave Chappelle, another iconic comedian who walked away from a multi-million-dollar deal in 2004. Chappelle's story echoes Bernie Mac's in more ways than one. In a 2006 interview with Oprah, Chappelle revealed the troubling culture he encountered in Hollywood, where the pressure to conform was palpable. Chappelle recounted a particularly bizarre experience while filming a movie with Martin Lawrence. When he walked into his trailer, he was shocked to find a dress hanging there. When he questioned it, the producers insisted that it was just part of the job. Chappelle, however, wasn't having it. "Put this dress on," they told him. But he stood his ground, refusing to wear it. The industry's insistence that all greats wear a dress didn't sit right with him, and Chappelle later revealed how he felt pushed to the edge. The stigma surrounding black men in dresses is well known within the African-American community, and both Chappelle and Mac have openly discussed their discomfort with these roles. It's alleged that Hollywood sought to emasculate prominent black male comedians by forcing them into demeaning portrayals of femininity. While some viewers may have found these characters funny, many critics, like Chappelle and Mac, saw it as a dangerous agenda to perpetuate certain stereotypes. Hollywood has long had a reputation for being cutthroat, but for many black entertainers, the industry's darker side includes being pushed into roles that compromise their identity. Bernie Mac and Dave Chappelle weren't the only ones who felt these pressures. The entertainment world is full of stories, some shared, some hidden, of black artists being forced into uncomfortable situations in exchange for fame and fortune. Mac's refusal to compromise may have cost him, not just in his career, but tragically, in his health as well. That being said, the rumors and speculations surrounding his death suggest that Hollywood may have played a more significant role in his decline than we initially realized. What tiny piece of info got the rumor mill buzzing? Hang in there, this story is just getting started. The struggle behind the fame, Bernie Mac's Hollywood battle. Despite his undeniable comedic genius, Bernie Mac found himself fighting a constant battle for recognition in Hollywood. While his peers were securing their own TV shows and headlining major projects, Bernie was still waiting for his big break. The industry had its eyes on other stars, but it seemed like they were overlooking the obvious. Bernie Mac was a natural for television. For years, Mac had been the driving force behind some of the most memorable moments in comedy. Whether it was his iconic stand-up performances, his memorable role in the original Kings of Comedy, or his infectious personality that seemed to light up every room he walked into. He was the kind of comic who could make you laugh uncontrollably while simultaneously pulling at your heartstrings. Yet for all his talent, the path to mainstream stardom seemed forever elusive. While Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hewley all found their footing in the entertainment industry, Bernie was left behind, seemingly stuck in the shadows. Even Chris Rock, who cast Bernie as his brother in the 2003 comedy Head of State, could see the brilliance in Bernie. Rock was one of the few who had always believed in Bernie's potential, even before the world caught on. In fact, Rock went out of his way to pitch a show starring Bernie to NBC, but the network's response, well, it was less than enthusiastic. They kind of shrugged it off, Rock recalled, bewildered by their hesitation. Why wouldn't they want someone like Bernie Mac? Rock said. It seemed that Hollywood was hesitant to take a chance on Bernie, even though they had seen firsthand what he was capable of. At the same time, Bernie wasn't waiting around for Hollywood to come knocking. He was grinding, hustling, and taking on a multitude of projects, from movies to stand-up specials, all while facing mounting pressures from the industry. While he fought hard to prove his worth, the toll on his personal health and well-being was taking its own heavy toll. Bernie had always been a man of integrity, someone who refused to compromise his values. But as his career began to soar, he was constantly faced with the ugly side of Hollywood, a side that often demanded that he put his principles aside for the sake of fame. In the years leading up to his eventual breakthrough on television, Bernie had been working tirelessly behind the scenes. His story began in Chicago, where he was a stand-up comedian, performing at clubs like the famed Cotton Club. He didn't have the easiest start either. Like many other comedians, he had to juggle multiple odd jobs just to make ends meet. From cooking to moving furniture, Bernie was willing to do whatever it took to follow his dream of becoming a successful comedian. His early years in the industry were filled with hardship and sacrifice, but those struggles laid the foundation for the fire that would eventually propel him to fame. Bernie's big break came in 1992, when he was featured on HBO's Def Comedy Jam. It was a moment that would change the trajectory of his career. The audience at the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina was no longer just a crowd. They were witnessing the emergence of a comedic genius. He made his mark with his unapologetic, fearless approach to stand-up. His now legendary declaration, "I ain't scared of you," made it clear that Bernie wasn't just another comedian. He was a force to be reckoned with. From there, things started to look up for Bernie. He went on to appear in films like The Players Club, 1998, and Friday, 1995. But it wasn't until he starred in the original Kings of Comedy, alongside Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, and Cedric the Entertainer that the world truly took notice. The film, which captured the comedic genius of these four black comedians, was a critical and commercial success. Bernie's performance in Kings of Comedy was nothing short of explosive. It wasn't just his humor. It was the raw, unfiltered passion he brought to the stage. In fact, he became the crowd favorite, and the show's producers wisely gave him the final spot. No one could follow Bernie Mac's act. But despite his growing fame, Bernie still struggled to get the recognition he deserved. TV executives didn't seem to know what to do with him. While Steve Harvey and D.L. Hewley were booking their own shows, and Cedric had found success in radio, Bernie Mac was left to fight for a place in the limelight. "I ain't got no television show." "Why?" "Because you scared of me," Bernie once remarked, hinting at the way Hollywood might have been hesitant to give him his own platform. Yet the public was clamoring for more. After Kings of Comedy, fans couldn't get enough of Bernie. Everyone was asking the same question. Why hasn't he got his own show yet? The answer, however, was buried in the complexities of the Hollywood machine. Bernie was a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, but that didn't mean he was ready to compromise. The system wasn't built to handle a talent like him, someone who had both the comedic chops and the depth to tackle more serious real-life issues in his comedy. And Hollywood, at the time, wasn't ready for that kind of change. It was Larry Wilmore, co-creator of the PJs and later Insecure, who finally saw the potential in Bernie Mac. Wilmore had been watching Kings of Comedy and, like many others, realized that Bernie was an obvious choice for a sitcom. "I saw Bernie's act of taking care of his sister's kids, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. If I did a show with Bernie where he's taking care of his sister's kids because the mother's on crack, that emotional tug draws me into the show," Wilmore explained. But creating a show that felt authentic and real wasn't as simple as it seemed. Larry Wilmore didn't want to just put Bernie in front of a camera. He wanted to capture something that would resonate with the audience, something more than just laughs. "I wanted to do a show where it felt like we were observing the family, rather than having the action pushed at us," Wilmore said. This would be a sitcom with substance, where real-life challenges would be addressed through humor. Wilmore's vision clicked, and Fox took a chance on the Bernie Mac show. It was a gamble, but one that paid off in a big way. The show became a hit, not just because of Bernie's star power, but because it was genuine. It didn't shy away from tough topics. Bernie's character was deeply flawed, yet lovable, and it struck a chord with viewers. As much as it was about comedy, it was also about family, responsibility, and the struggles that many families faced in real life. Yet, even with the success of the show, whispers about the darker side of Hollywood persisted. Behind the laughter, behind the success, there was a toll being taken, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Was Bernie truly ready for the price of fame? Was the success worth the cost to his health and his soul? And with the mounting pressures of fame, was there more going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? The strained dynamics. Bernie Mac, Larry Wilmore, and Fox's pulling strings. As the Bernie Mac show began to find its groove in its early seasons, tensions behind the scenes were escalating. Larry Wilmore, who had been instrumental in shaping the show, had a vision for Bernie that extended beyond his stand-up persona. Wilmore saw Bernie as more than just the fiery comedian known for his no-nonsense approach. He wanted to capture the intimate, relatable side of Bernie, a side the audience could connect with on a deeper level. That's why Wilmore was adamant about the single-camera format, which allowed for a more personal, less bombastic portrayal of Bernie. "If I had him up in front of an audience, I'd be competing with that version of Bernie, and it'd be no competition. I would lose," Wilmore explained. By switching to a single-camera format, the show could show a side of Bernie that wasn't just the punchline master, but the family man. A man with heart, humor, and struggles. It was a gamble, but one that paid off. Premiering on Fox in November 2001, the show started strong, pulling in decent ratings. 9.5 million viewers for the first season. Critics took note of its uniqueness, and the accolades rolled in. Wilmore won an Emmy for his pilot script, and the show won a Peabody Award for its groundbreaking first season. Bernie Mac himself was nominated for an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and an NAACP Image Award for Best Actor in a Comedy Series. The stars seemed to be aligning for Bernie, and the Bernie Mac Show looked poised for long-term success. However, that success didn't come without friction. Fox, eager to keep the momentum going, pushed the show into direct competition with ABC's My Wife and Kids, starring Damon Wayans. Despite the Bernie Mac Show holding its own with 10 million viewers, it could never quite outpace My Wife and Kids' 11 million. Despite this, the second season saw a ratings boost, but Fox wasn't impressed. In fact, there were whispers in the industry that Wilmore's relationship with the network was starting to sour. Wilmore himself recalls the unsettling moment when the head of Fox, after Wilmore won his Emmy, bluntly said, "Well, I guess now we can't fire him." It was clear that tensions were rising, and soon enough, they reached a boiling point. Wilmore was eventually let go midway through season 2, as the network increasingly pushed him out. It wasn't just the ratings that seemed to be the issue. There was an undeniable creative clash between the network, Wilmore, and Bernie. Fox's alleged meddling with the creative process started from the beginning. One notable incident involved a scene in the pilot episode where Bernie spanks his nephew Jordan in a drugstore. According to Wilmore, the network didn't like the moment and wanted it removed. Larry's response was blunt. "Sorry, white people, but black people spank their kids," he said, unapologetically maintaining the authenticity of the show. Despite his creative integrity, the constant interference wore him down, and by season 2, the relationship between the network, Wilmore, and Bernie had hit an irreparable point. After Wilmore's departure, Fox made a strategic move. They shifted the show's time slot, moving it away from the highly competitive Wednesday night lineup. It worked. The ratings surged once the Bernie Mac Show started following American Idol, bringing in even bigger numbers than in the first season. Still, the show's future was uncertain as the network juggled its time slots, and viewers found it increasingly difficult to keep track of where to find the show. Despite the shifting time slots and declining ratings, the Bernie Mac Show continued to rack up accolades, winning 3 consecutive NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Comedy Series. Bernie Mac himself took home 4 straight NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series. However, by 2006, the show's ratings had plummeted to just 3.6 million viewers by its final season, and Fox decided to pull the plug. The series ended with its final episode on April 14, 2006, leaving a legacy of heartfelt comedy that tugged on the heartstrings of millions who identified with Bernie's unique parenting style. While the show's run may have ended, it undeniably marked a turning point in television. Through Larry Wilmore's careful direction, the Bernie Mac Show gave the world a different kind of sitcom, a series that dealt with real-life issues while still making you laugh. It was more than just a showcase for Bernie's comedy. It was a portrayal of family, struggles, and responsibility. It wasn't about perfect parents. It was about imperfect people trying to do the best they could in a world full of challenges. But behind the scenes of this groundbreaking show was another drama, one that involved not just creative differences, but also egos, rivalry, and competition. One of Bernie's greatest challenges wasn't just Hollywood's reluctance to recognize his genius, but the growing tension with his fellow comedian, Steve Harvey. During the original Kings of Comedy tour, Bernie and Steve Harvey didn't always see eye to eye. While Steve was praised for his smooth and charismatic style, Bernie was the one who took risks. His comedy was raw, sometimes venturing into territory that felt too real for some. Cedric the Entertainer, who toured with both men, confirmed that there was a palpable tension between the two comics. He acknowledged that they were both alpha males, each with a strong vision of what they wanted to bring to the stage. "They just saw it different," Cedric said, emphasizing how their distinct comedic approaches often clashed. Rumors of jealousy and rivalry between Steve and Bernie circulated for years. According to insiders, there were moments during the tour where Bernie's approach to comedy, more cutting-edge and in-your-face, rubbed Steve the wrong way. Despite the tension, Cedric claimed that both men were able to work through their differences, but it became clear that the dynamics between the two were complicated. The feud, which started small, eventually spiraled into something much bigger, leading to missed opportunities for future collaborations. Cedric hinted that the conflict wasn't just about their differing comedic styles, but also about the influence of the promoter who managed the tour. "It had a lot to do with the promoter getting a bigger head than all of us," Cedric reflected. The power struggle that arose within the group added fuel to the fire, preventing another Kings of Comedy tour from happening. Whether it was ego, money, or creative differences, the tension between Steve and Bernie was something that cast a shadow over their relationship for years to come. As the Kings of Comedy tour and the Bernie Mac show evolved, the world witnessed both the magic and the tension that came with being in the limelight. And for Bernie, it wasn't just about finding fame. It was about navigating a complex, often treacherous industry that sometimes made it difficult to truly showcase who he was, both as a comic and as a man. Final curtain call: Bernie Mac's lasting legacy. By 2003, the whispers had become headlines. In an interview with GQ magazine, Bernie Mac appeared to accuse Steve Harvey of jealousy and even trying to sabotage his shot at major movie roles. Harvey publicly addressed the article, saying, "I was upset at first because it just wasn't true." He later claimed that Bernie denied ever saying it, and Harvey took him at his word. Still, the damage lingered. Years later, in a rare moment of vulnerability, Harvey admitted that Bernie's widow, Rhonda McCullough, helped him heal. "It was a cleansing moment for me," he said, a subtle hint that maybe there was more to the tension than either side was willing to admit. The truth remains murky, but Harvey's remorse has been evident. In a heartfelt episode of his talk show, Harvey honored Bernie's memory, joined by D.L. Hewley and Cedric the Entertainer. That day, November 14th, was officially proclaimed Bernie Mac Day by Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel, proof that Bernie's impact extended far beyond the stage. But behind Bernie's bold charisma was a man quietly fighting for his health. He had sarcoidosis, a chronic inflammatory disease that affects the organs, particularly the lungs. And though it had gone into remission, it left his immune system dangerously fragile. In March 2007, Bernie appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman to announce his retirement from stand-up comedy after 30 relentless years on the road. "I want to enjoy my life a little bit," he said. And yet even in retirement, he wasn't finished. He voiced Zuba in Madagascar, escaped to Africa, and stole scenes in Transformers as the smooth-talking Bobby Bolivia. His final projects, Soul Men and Old Dogs, were released posthumously, and both showcased his range and charm one last time. Tragically, in July 2008, Bernie was hospitalized in Chicago. Though admitted for pneumonia, his condition worsened. He was placed on a ventilator and fought for 3 weeks in intensive care. On August 9th, 2008, he died from cardiac arrest. His family later explained that while sarcoidosis wasn't the direct cause, the immune-suppressing medication he was on contributed to his vulnerability. A week later, 7,000 people packed the House of Hope Church in Chicago to mourn and celebrate the legend. Chris Rock, Don Cheadle, Samuel L. Jackson, Ashton Kutcher, and his Bernie Mac Show co-stars all came to honor him. So did his fellow Kings of Comedy, DL, Cedric, and yes, even Steve Harvey. Despite network politics, rumors of sabotage, and the weight of illness, Bernie Mac's journey remains one of power and perseverance. He didn't just entertain. He confronted hard truths with laughter and showed the world what resilience looks like. His legacy is more than a punchline, it's a statement. In the end, Bernie didn't need to prove anything. He was already royalty. What do you think about the life and times of Bernie Mac? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. Turn on the notification bell to be notified of our latest uploads.